Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Ways Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on Ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Cancer is a significant public health concern in Nigeria, with an estimated 124,815 new cases diagnosed as of 2020. The most prevalent cancers among Nigerian women are breast and cervical cancer, while prostate cancer is the most common amongst men. This year's World Cancer Day, with the theme Close the Care Gap, calls for urgent action to ensure that everyone, regardless of their background or location, has access to cancer prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and support. Cancer is a leading global health challenge, but awareness and proactive steps can save lives. It's another wonderful episode on your favorite primetime show, Ways. And my name remains Osayiwa Mesale. Today, in partnership with Provisio, our research partners at Ways, will turn our attention on cancer. And of course, I have two guests, and my guests are Dr. Ademolu Owoyele and Ambassador Franca Eze, a cancer survivor. They're going to be joining me much later to, unpack the subject of cancer. And yes, remember, Ways is all about you. You are the why in Ways. So be a part of the conversation every single day and add your voice to the discussion. You can also head on to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. Hit that subscribe button, like, share. Invite your families to join the show right now, especially if you know someone dealing with cancer, or has like a family history. It's very important for them to join the conversation. And when I open the phone lines much later, I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this topic. As always, let's please ponder on my quote for the day. It says, "You're stronger than you ever realized, without a doubt." I think this is just to encourage someone that is battling cancer, just, stay strong. Most people don't realize how strong they are. I've had amazing stories on how people just, just because they had the right mindset, they were able to overcome cancer. And if you're going through the same, you also can overcome. All right, so we'll delve into the subject of cancer much later. But first, I'm off on a break. When I come back, I'll let you in on my news interest for the day. All right, thanks for staying. Now, cost of japa, right? There's a report that shows how young Nigerians battle hardship. You know how everybody seems to want to leave the country. Honestly speaking, when I read this report, it kind of touched me a little bit. I'll read some snippets from the report. It says, in a bid to escape Nigeria's worsening socio-economic challenges, many young Nigerians embark on journeys abroad only to encounter harsh working conditions and in some cases tragic death. And this was a write-up from Uthman Salami. As the Nigerian government grapples with providing employment opportunities for its citizens and creating an environment conducive to securing decent jobs, many young Nigerians leave the country in droves, taking on jobs abroad that the locals in those countries might not even consider engaging in. The number of Nigerian students studying abroad has also steadily increased over the years as many seek to escape the challenges of poor governance and frequent disruptions to academic activities caused by, of course, our unions, such as the Academic Staff Union, as the ASU, or the Non-Academic Staff Union, you know, just many of all those bodies that keep going on strike. Families are putting up properties they have spent years acquiring to raise funds to help their children escape the overwhelming challenges their country is facing, and they are seeking a future elsewhere, far from the troubled Nigeria. But pressure from home, school fees, utility bills, and hectic work hours in their newfound home is pushing many of these Nigerians, especially those in the United Kingdom, to sickness and, in extreme instances, their early grave. Some of these challenges facing Nigerians abroad are captured by a young woman from Abeokuta, by the name Adijat, who graduated from Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife with a degree in pharmaceutical. She told the reporter, that's the Punch reporter, that her father, who sells meat, used his only house as collateral to borrow money from a Nigerian bank to pay for her schooling abroad. Shockingly enough, she lamented that her father and the bank the family borrowed the money from had started to demand monthly paybacks barely a month after she had arrived Luton, England, in the United Kingdom. You know, I took this story because it's actually quite, you know, dear to me. I am currently, you know, what's it called, raising, or or we are currently in the situation where we have, you know, our child abroad, you know, studying and all of that. And I can tell you, you know, be beans. It is a lot. It takes a lot, you know. It takes a lot. Sometimes you are just thinking, you're thinking, you're worried, you know, because I say to everybody that cares to listen, you see Nigeria, right? In as much as the hardship is, you know, is biting and all of that, you are still able to survive without any source of income in Nigeria. Abroad, whether you are there, I mean, whether you're working or not working, the bills will come in every month. They will not even waste time. And it's so bad that even in the winter, they'll throw you out in the cold. You know, so truly, it's really, you must really have, like, you must be intentional about looking for a proper job that can sustain your lifestyle, because living abroad is very tough. I can tell you that for free. And the bills are not smiling. The kind of bills I'm paying, you know, for a student abroad, I will not pay that kind of bill while I'm here. So it is tough for everybody. And this is just a clarion call to our government. Honestly speaking, I don't think a lot of Nigerians will want to suffer to just say they were selling properties and everything just to go abroad. If we have better opportunities here, if we have better systems here, if our economy is thriving, there's so much that we can do. We can tap into the potential that we have as a people and, you know, just kind of, you know, make things easier for Nigerians. I've said this thing, I'll say it again. We need to be intentional about upskilling Nigerians. We don't have to all work in Nigeria. If we have the right tool, the right skills, we can actually be here and earning FX, working for another country, I mean, another company in a different country. It doesn't have to, I don't have to look for a job here in Nigeria. I just need the right skills. So as much as, you know, this is really breaking to read up on, it is the harsh reality. So before you say you want to go abroad and all of that, you really must think hard, because it's not easy on anybody. It's not. And that is just the plain truth. The bills will keep coming, whether you choose to like it or not, whether you have a job or not. They do not care. So we just need to be intentional. So I thought to take that as my first story for today. Then on Monday, you know, we had talked about our 2025 budget. Me, I don't even have anything to say about this budget, but I just wanted to inform you guys, in case you have not seen the story, that our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has raised the 2025 budget from the 49.7 trillion that we talked about on Monday to 54.2 trillion. You know, so I was reading this report on the Punch newspaper, and I saw some comments that just some comments were just hilarious. You know, this what do they call this thing? This what do they call it? Oh, so this sound filler that you hear when a DJ is playing song, where they will say raise them, raise them, raise them. I saw somebody's comment. He said the president should raise them, raise them, raise them. Oh. You know, I just saw those comments. I was just laughing. And so somebody says, can we? He said make them about 60 trillion. Just round figure. Give a round figure. You know, these comments are hilarious. But honestly speaking, I tried to go to budget, their page, to see if they have any update on as to why this what's it called, figure was raised from 49.7 trillion to 54.2 trillion. And honestly, I've not found it, so I'm going to be watching out for it. So maybe that might just be our conversation again next week, Monday, because I don't understand what informed the 49.7 trillion budget and why all of a sudden we're now moving it to 54.2 trillion. Does it mean that 49.7 trillion budget wasn't thought through? So I just have questions around this, this particular news story. So my final story for today, El-Rufai. You know what I like to talk about? I'm sure the people that know me know that I was born, buttered, bred, raised in Kaduna State. So every time there's a story around Kaduna State, I will always take that story. So El-Rufai is talking to the new governor, Sani. He says, any fool can destroy what has been built. So Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, has thrown another subtle jab at his successor, Uba Sani, saying that any fool can destroy what has been built. In recent times, El-Rufai had been throwing jibs at the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Governor Sani, and the All Progressive Congress, quoting a 2020 post on Kaduna Investment Promotion Agency on X account on Tuesday, showing how the state top investment destination was top investment destination under his administration. And the former governor said Kaduna State and the Kadipa less than 5 years ago, you know, that was what it was. You know, they were the top investment state for the country. He says now, he then says, any fool can destroy what has been built by those unaccustomed to giving excuses. El-Rufai had knocked Sani for defending Tinubu's alleging that he has received 150 billion naira from the federal government. So I just wanted to touch on this talk that El-Rufai talked about, because I've been monitored Kaduna State closely while he was governor. And true to it, I have friends that are working with the World Bank and in collaboration, and they did some projects in Kaduna State. And, you know, Kaduna State was one of those states where they said that, you know, for everything that was kind of allocated to them in terms of like funds and all of that, it was properly utilized. Give it to El-Rufai. He might be a lot of things, right? But, you know, you can't take away the fact that the guy knows when it comes to development and growth, he knows how to just plug in those, you know, those things into place. Although, because I lived in Kaduna, and I still visit Kaduna once in a while, I would say that whoever is governor of Kaduna State, it is so unfair for you to be one-sided in your development. If you go to Kaduna, some parts of Kaduna South, the roads are like that. Be 40 this year. So some roads are still the way they are. In fact, it is even worse off now because, you know, you will see big craters, especially in Chukwu local government area. Let me be specific, right? So it is unfair that you have well-tarred roads. If you go to all the northern part of Kaduna, even inside the streets, like in between streets, you will see well-tarred roads. But you go down south to Kaduna South, it's not the same. I don't see fairness in the way projects are being done in Kaduna State. And I'm calling out the governor. right? If you want to be fair, and if you believe that we are all citizens and we are all one, and you're not bringing that divisive kind of style of governance, then that governance must touch all parts of Kaduna State. And this is a call out to the current governor of Kaduna State, because all governors have done that, their tenures, and they have not touched the roads, especially within that Chukun local government area. It is really, really terrible. It is bad, and it is totally unfair. So if you want to be seen to be fair, then let the constructions or the road networks, let it go round across the state. You have the capacity to do that. So I'll take a break. When we come back from that break, I want to discuss cancer. Stay with us.
This season on Heartlands, we're committed to making a difference in people's lives. So Heartlands, in partnership with Reda Consult, is offering 12 free slots of counseling every quarter for people in need of professional counseling. Additionally, we're taking on 2 pro bono cases for individuals navigating a challenging divorce. To participate, please send an email to counsel@vedaconsult.com with your story. Our team will carefully review all submissions and will contact all the shortlisted candidates. Heartlands is live Mondays to Fridays at 10 p.m, so engage with us.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. Yes, there are 6 countries in the world that share 40% of the world's cancer cases, right? And they include China, India, Japan, Indonesia, Turkey, and South Korea. Now, Asia accounts for nearly half of global cancer cases, 48%. And of course, it reflects a mortality rate of 57%, while Africa, with only 6% of global cases, endures the highest mortality at 64%. So you know why we are discussing cancer today. So in 2020, Nigeria reported approximately 51,398 new cases in males, with prostate cancer accounting for 29.8% of these cases. Now, the age standardized incidence rate for all invasive cancer is 66.4 per 100,000 men and 130.6 per 100,000 women. Breast cancer has an age standardized incidence rate of 52.0 per 100,000, while cervical cancer stands at 36.0 per 100,000. Annually, cancer leads to over 72,000 deaths in Nigeria, with 30,924 males and 40,667 females succumbing to the disease. And the numbers of new cancer cases each year is approximately 102,000. Now, the overall cancer incidence rate is 113.6 per 100,000 persons per year, with a mortality rate of 74.6 per 100,000 persons per year. For females, with an incidence rate of 51.5 per 100,000 and a mortality rate of 26.8 per 100,000. In males, prostate cancer is most prevalent, with an incidence rate of 41.2 per 100,000 and a mortality rate of 27.9 per 100,000. Now, these statistics highlight the critical need for enhanced cancer awareness, early detection, and improved access to treatment in Nigeria. So to join me in this conversation tonight is Dr. Ademolu Owoyele, and of course I still have Ambassador Franca Eze. She is a cancer survivor. They are both going to join me via Zoom this evening. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Dr. Ademolu, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Good
Thank you for
evening.
having me.
Thank you so much. You know, see the statistics, they are quite staggering, right? You know, and it's making me dizzy just even reading the statistics. But from your own assessment, right, how well are we doing when it comes to cancer management in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name is Ademolo Wele, just as been said. Yes, with regards to cancer, cancer is one of the deadliest medical conditions out there. It ranks high, just like we have cardiovascular diseases. So definitely the country is making some strides, but there's a lot of room for improvement with regards to cancer. Because if you look at the statistics, it's clear that there's a lot of things to be done. There's a long way to go. Whereby in 2020 alone, about 90 million new cases were actually, identified. 90 million new cases in 2020 alone. That tells you that we have a lot of things to do. Also, in the same 2020, about 50 million people were living with cancer. 50 million people were living with cancer. So we cannot tell ourselves that we are doing enough yet. But we just have to keep doing what we are doing. We need to invest more in healthcare. We need to invest more in the right things, which includes health promotion, investigations, because the most important ways to fight cancer is early detection. That's the most important thing. Beyond the treatment, beyond the curation, because there are cancers that cannot be cured. You can only treat them and manage them. For us to actually do well, for us to do better, the most important thing is for us to be able to identify this problem early enough and begin to institute treatments early enough. This is the only way we can help to reduce and improve the conditions in our people because the numbers are staggering. So I can tell you that we are doing fantastically enough, but definitely there are impacts. There are new medications coming on. There are private investors coming in, bringing in investigation, bringing in diagnostic companies, bringing in things like that. The government is also trying its best, but it's not enough. It's never enough. So we need to continue to fight against cancer. Yes.
Okay. I think 50 million, and we're talking within Nigeria. But let me come to Franca. Franca, do you mind to just share quickly your story, like, a very summarized version of your story? Because I hear that you are a survivor. And what kind of cancer was that you had to go deal with?
Greetings. My name is Franca Eze, and I survived stage 2 cervical cancer 8 years ago. What I thought I had is what we generally call toilet infection. What it turned out that I had was stage 2 cervical cancer. I never heard the word cervical cancer before until I tested positive to it. And I never believed I had cancer, even when the team that diagnosed me were doing their best to help me. I always used to think that cancer is white people's illness. And I kept telling them I didn't have cancer, that what I had was toilet infection. And I remember the nurse kept asking me, what's in the toilet infection? And I would cry and tell her I don't have cancer. I shall know I don't have cancer, Like the doctor said, the impact is there. The government is doing their best. Experts are also doing their best, but the problem is with the people. The problem is with individuals. The problem is with the public. I can beat my chest to say that there is enough awareness.
Okay.
Problem is people, the individuals who have the problem. I keep telling people that even the doctor that you are presenting late to have their reservation about seeing SAW. Why wait until there is SAW before you present?
Okay.
That is the thing. I am sharing my story because I embraced early proper medical treatment and I was diagnosed early.
Well, I mean, if you say stage 2, I don't want to believe that that was early. Doctor, please correct me if I'm wrong.
That is like one of the earliest that can present. I
Wow.
never even knew I had cancer when I was tested.
Wow.
And I had a child after I survived.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say that some of the cases of infertility borders on serious infections than people think they have.
Okay, let me come back to Dr. Ademolu. Now, the issue, because Franca had said something just now, thinking, oh, cancer is an Oyinbo man disease. Because in fairness, right, is it that maybe we were not having proper diagnosis, or it was just a function of the lifestyle that our ancestors lived, you know, because they did a lot of herbs, they did a lot of this, they did a lot of that. So we really did not have cases of, or maybe because our healthcare sector was not advanced enough to be able to detect it. But this is a common thing that we always say, that why all of a sudden we now have a prevalence of something that was quite alien to us, you know, in the past. Is it the fact that we couldn't detect it then, or is the fact that our lifestyle changed? Because if I go back to the current king of England now, you know, he was diagnosed with cancer and he's opting for traditional, healing, medicine to deal with this or to manage the situation. So it means that to some extent, there is some level of potency in some of the lifestyles that our ancestors lived. Because this is the argument that always comes up. They say cancer now in bone and sickness, not be Nigerian, it's not an African thing. So maybe you help us touch a little bit on that and why we have a prevalence of cancer nowadays. You are muted if you are talking, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a combination of what you have said. It's a combination of so many things. You can't say cancer is an Oyinbo man disease or medical condition. It is not. And cancer had existed even in times of our fathers. You understand? So it's not something that is just happening now. Although the ability for us to use advanced medical diagnostics to be able to identify these problems contributed to we being able to see more of it. It existed long before now. Although the advancements in medical diagnostics has helped us a lot to see this. So a lot of our fathers that were dying back in the days, we don't know what could kill them. So not that cancer never existed, it did existed. So having said that, there are lifestyles, there are risk factors for cancers. There are risk factors, and we need to understand that. Some of these risk factors have nothing to do with your lifestyle. And some of these risk factors, definitely, lifestyles are implicated. Let me give an example. There are cancers that are even more common in Black people than white people. There are cancers that are more common in Black people than white people. That is one. So where you live predisposes you already to having cancers. That's one. Beyond that, also, lifestyle also contributes to this sometimes. Lifestyle in terms of what you eat. An example, people that have some types of gastrointestinal cancers, the colorectal cancers and the rest of them. That is your GIT. We know that most of the things that are being, that people eat in the Westerners eat tends to predispose them to some of these cancers. And because we are moving in that direction, our people are also beginning to come down with these kind of cancers. But beyond that also, where you live, in terms of, we know radiation also contributes to this. Sometimes the kind of things you do, the work you do. There are people that work with paints. As you work with all those things, there are people that work with ionizing radiation. All these are risk factors to certain cancers. So it's important that our people know this. When they know this, they're able to modify their lifestyle a little bit towards reducing their risk of having certain cancers. So it's important we know that. It's important we know the risk factors. It's important we know how to modify our living environment so that we can reduce our predisposition to having some cancers. So this is very important. So as I said, number one, cancer is not a white man disease. It affects anybody. Cancer is just a normal cell. We all have cells cells are said to be the basic unit of any matter. They are the smallest things you have in a living matter. So within the cells, when you have a lot of cells together, you have the tissue, then tissue becomes organ becomes systems. So when normal cells begin to just go abnormally on their own, that's when you have cancers. So within let me give an example. Let's say you have the breast, for example. The breast has cells within them. So when some cells begin to grow too much and unevenly or abnormally, those cells become cancerous cells and they begin to invade other tissues of the breast. That's when you begin to see the changes that you see on the breast. This is the reason why they tell you that you need to begin to look for signs and symptoms. And there are signs that you need to look for in cancer. So as we're living, as we're growing, that's why people say that watch your body, look at your body, feel your body, and all these things can help you. As an example, because breast cancer is the most common cancer among Nigerian females. So when you're looking at cancers, the number one cancer among females in Nigeria is breast cancer. So definitely, that's the reason why they tell you that examine your breast every time you're trying to have your bath. Look at the skin over your breast. If there's going to be any discoloration, is there any discoloration? Is there any color changes? When you observe any of these things, don't just leave it. See the doctor. Beyond that also, as you're taking your bath on a daily basis, try to feel your breast. Within the few minutes you're trying to have your bath, feel your breast, do an examination. And every woman of puberty age should be able to do this, a self-breast examination. When you're able to feel any lump, any little swelling in your breast, even if it's not a problem, just see someone, talk to a doctor immediately so that this can be looked at. Beyond that also, when there's any family history of cancer in your family, let's say you have someone has a history of family member, the mother had breast cancer or the grandmother had breast cancer or something like that, or you don't even know what killed them. That's the reason why you need to find out, because you may not exactly know what killed them, but it's important. You need to talk to people and know. When you know, then you know that. So such people need to start immediate screening for breast cancer. People with a family history of breast cancer.
Absolutely. And at what age, doctor? Because if I have a history of breast cancer, because I've seen some guys abroad, they just say, I can't even deal. Let me just go and remove the breast tissue so I don't even have to deal with it. But at what age do you start to screen when you know that you have a family history? Is it when you start to, as a young girl, when you start puberty? Is that the best time to start screening, or you have to get a bit older for that?
Sincerely, a family history is a potent risk factor for breast cancer. And knowing well that, many forms of cancer can be cured. Many forms of cancer can be cured if detected early. That's the most important thing. If detected early. So it's important when there's if there's no family history, you can wait till maybe after puberty, after teenage years for some things. For example, let me give you an example now. The pap smear. The pap smear is the screening test for cervical cancer, which is about the second most common cancer in female in Nigeria, the cervical cancer. From age 21, you want to be screening for pap smear for cervical cancer. And some of the screening include doing a pap smear. A pap smear requires them to stick a swab
yeah,
into that area.
But doctor, if I'm not sexually active at age 21 now, I don't have to do a pap smear, right? Because these days I hear that it is when you are sexually active that you... So even if you start to have sex at the age of 13, then you need to start to screen. That's what I hear. But you know what? Let's go on a very short break, because I'd like to continue this conversation, but we have to go on a short break. I also want to hear Franca's how she decided to detect, how she found out. We'll be right back.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, We will bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we will analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. So we still have with us Dr. Ademolu Owoyele, and we have Ambassador Franca Eze. They're here, of course, to discuss, cancer. Please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. Our phone lines are also now open. The numbers to call are 07025007749 or 07014242420. Let's hear what you have to say. So I wanted to come back to, Doctor, I'll come back to you briefly based on my question on sexual activities, right? But let me come to Franca. When did you realize that it was time for you to just go to the hospital? Was it the consistent treating of toilet disease or something else came up?
The team that screened me never gave me a chance to slack from treatment because I looked healthy. I didn't look like the symptoms I had. And they were surprised at how naive I was because I kept saying what I had was toilet infection, and they really wanted to differentiate, like educate me on what I had and what I was emphasizing that I had. So they invited my husband and I, educated us on about HPV, told us to go for confirmatory tests if we wanted to, but they also proposed a treatment plan, and we were willing to follow through with the treatment plan because they were nice and they liked that we were following up with all the information they were giving us. So we spoke to doctor friends, and then I decided to go for confirmatory tests. And then I also decided that I would follow through with the treatment plan that the team was offering. Now, the turning point for me was with the correlation with what the team was offering me and what the doctor friend in the US was proposing, and it was difficult for me to come to terms with the fact that what I was treating was actually cancer because I kept saying it was toilet infection. Now, I want to say that the general impression that the average Nigerian woman has is that every infection in the vagina is toilet infection. But I got to know with my own diagnosis and treatment that there is no medical term like the word toilet infection. And the team that diagnosed me did a good job educating me on the symptoms and let me just say on awareness and symptoms of cervical cancer, because I never heard the word before. That was 8 years ago. I never knew anything like cervical cancer. I didn't even know that. What? I was just starting to live my life when they said if I didn't follow the treatment plan, I would be gone by 3 years. So I was so eager to do everything I was told to do that my healing journey sped up faster than I thought. And my case is peculiar because I had the first opportunity to be diagnosed 4 months before I was diagnosed. That was during Fashola regime. The health center was having a cervical screening, and a friend invited me. I had smelly vaginal discharge, and the matron who was supposed to carry out the screening just sent me away because of the smell. Immediately, I was told to take off my clothes. I did and laid on the examination bed. The smell came. I used to perceive the smell on my own too. But being a professional, I didn't know she was going to discharge me the way she did. She just said, now human being, they smell like this. Wear your cloth, go, go, go. In 3 years' time, repeat the test. So I said, which test I go repeat in 3 years' time? She said, my Lord, job. So I got up from the examination bed. I was crying. I dressed up. I left my friends that I went with to that community service that day at the health center. I didn't wait. So I came back home. I knew I had a problem. I will pray. I will cry. I will not talk to anybody about it. Even my husband didn't know the experience I had at the health center. But I was bent on finding out what was wrong with me. I felt very ashamed because some people who lived on my street were at that health center that day that woman did that thing. And I always tell people that when God has a purpose for your life, he will just make things work together for you. 4 months later, another NGO came to Oba Palace to carry out cancer screening. And the first people who didn't screen me had something written on the banner in front of the health center that struck my attention. I saw cervical something. And then I'm seeing this cervical again at Oba Palace. So I just told myself that I will not go and take off my clothes in front of these people, but I will ask questions. What is all this cervical thing that they are talking about? So I went to the team. I greeted them nicely. And I said a prayer for them that God bless everyone here in Jesus' name. And the head of the team said, Madam, come inside, come inside. Are you a pastor's wife? I said, no, I'm not a pastor's wife. I'm just an ordinary child of God. She said, no, please come in. Immediately you said that prayer. The Spirit of God told me you are the reason why we came to Akowonjo. I said, how? She said, come in. So I came in. The way she went on, I started crying already because after the first opportunity I missed to be screened, I already started fasting, praying, and telling God I didn't want to die. I didn't want anything like cancer attached to my name and all that. So this woman made me lie down. She carried out the screening. Where I knew I had a problem was when she covered her nose before she carried out the screening. This was happening in 2016. And 2016 is not a time where normal people wear nose masks. It was just during the COVID. So she made me lie down on the examination bed. Immediately I opened my leg. She covered her nose. She called the 2 other doctors that were with her. They looked at me and they started bombarding me with questions. The more they asked, the more I cried. I was like, am I okay? What is wrong with me? She said, why are you crying? So I said, somebody was supposed to do this screening 4 months ago. She didn't do it. This was what she did. She asked me to go and do it in 3 years' time. That was why I became curious. So she said, you mean you don't know you have cancer? I said, I don't have cancer. That was where the argument started from. And they felt that I knew because of the questions I was asking. The fact that they found out that I didn't know was what made them take up my case as a project,
Wow.
And yes.
Oh,
so
wow.
They took my case
And we thank God that the rest is history. But you see, there are some things you touched on. I really want to come back to Doctor. Doctor, see, there are so many things that Franca had touched on. The healthcare workers, right? How they treat. Imagine if she actually took on that, saying that she will go back in 3 years' time. I don't think she would be alive to be sharing this story, right? So it's 2 things I want you to touch on. The healthcare workers and the attitude, how they should, treat certain kinds of things. And secondly, she talked about signs. She had, an awful odor coming. Some people don't even have anything. They don't have the odor and all of that. So what are the clear signs? Or should we now go back to my initial question? Once you are sexually active, just be intentional about screening for cervical cancer, and how frequent should you do that?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Let me start from your last, talking about sexual activity with regards to cervical cancer. There's no strong medical backing for sexual activity and cervical cancer per se. But bottom line is that the recommended thing by WHO for screening for cervical cancer is 21 years. That's when it's expected that you begin to do pap smear generally, and it's most effective at that age. That is for screening for cervical cancer. That's the WHO recommendation. With regards to sexual activity, there's no strong medical backing for that. So now, secondly, again, beyond just screening for cervical cancer, don't forget there is also vaccination. One of the ways where you can, one of the ways by which you can help prevent this prevention I'm talking about. So I've talked about prevention, which is vaccination. You can actually vaccinate against cervical cancer, and the government, I think the government is doing a lot about this. You know, government is taking this to the schools for the children, for them to be screened at no cost, I believe. So, and usually the recommendation by WHO for this also is from age 9 years, 9 to 14 years for the girls. And it doesn't mean that, you know, women too cannot have, you know, cervical cancer vaccination. Up till 26 years of age, you can have cervical cancer vaccination. So that's that about prevention and also early detection for cervical cancer. Beyond that, also we've talked about breast cancer, we've talked about, then there are also blood works, you know, tumor markers. These are markers whereby that you see in the blood whenever, you know, there's a problem with any tissue in the body. And this is one of the reasons why my laboratory, that's DNA Highly Rainbow Specialized Laboratories, we've decided to crash down the prices on every investigation on cancer so that people become more aware, people can come in and they can have this self-screen. We've given a 30% discount on everything cancer evaluation, just to make sure that there's more accessibility for our people to be screened and to be investigated so that they can detect cancers earlier. So these are some of the things. What are the other questions?
So I was going to say that, so how do we start to intentionally put some level of empathy? Because, I mean, how Franca was treated, right? Because the personnel.
Thank you.
Yeah, the personnel too, it's important that, you know, because again, sometimes people actually don't know why certain things are happening. You know, they go and pee and the whole toilet is smelling.
I'm going to take, you talked about attitudinal change with regards to the healthcare worker. And really, I will take this, you know, to the grassroots. When I say the grassroots, there's a lot of problems in our healthcare system. I know I recently granted an interview, even with the, you know, I don't want to mention the name of the paper right now, where I talked about the challenges facing the healthcare system beyond infrastructural problems that we used to have. When I say infrastructural problem, I'm talking about the amenities, equipment, the structures and things that we know we routinely have. We now have a challenge of workforce. You know, we have a dearth of workforce in healthcare in Nigeria right now. I think a recent statistic was recently, put out by the NMA. I think there are just about 37,000 doctors in Nigeria today. Only 37,000. About 6,000 of them are in Lagos. You know, with the population of Lagos State at 22 million thereabouts, you have just 6,000 doctors. Abuja has about 4,000. Port Harcourt has about 1,800. Look at that. So these numbers are, these numbers are not enough to provide the right care for people. That's number one. So our people are not going to get the right care they should get. Even in terms of outcomes, a lot of the good ones has also left the country. So we are left with the ones that are, you know, quote unquote, not as good as, you know, because the very good ones pass exams and they leave the country. So secondly, even the ones that we have on ground, they are one leg in, one leg out. They are ready to go. So it's a problem that it's a, you know, myriad of a problem. Beyond that also, we need to also, beyond clinical training for our doctors, our healthcare workers, they need to also have other kind of training on soft skills, whereby we need to improve because it's holistic. You know, a lot of times, many people are not taught those other rudiments in medical school on how to handle many of these patients, the soft skills that is needed to make this patient, you know, it's an holistic and personalized treatment and care. We need to understand that. So people need to also go for training on how to attend to patients, the attitude to, and other things that makes your care holistic. So all these things need to be done. So we're not doing enough in those areas. So that's where, you know, those, and I also talked about the numbers, because if the number of patients are overwhelming, the doctors or the healthcare workers will not be able to do what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Where they're supposed to examine you properly, where they're supposed to investigate properly, they'll tell you come another time because the numbers is so much. So we need to look at that. There needs to be the right investment in healthcare. Our government is not doing enough. There's only about 5% of our budget. The WHO recommendation is 15% of for any country, you know, from the budget. But Nigeria is just about 5%. You know, so a lot more needs to be done. When the investment is not right, definitely it's going to affect the process, it's going to affect the outcome. And this is what we are getting. The
Absolutely. Okay, so let me come back to Franca. Thank you so much, Doc, for that. Franca, what would you wish more people would understand about cancer, given your experience? Because we are wrapping up the conversation and the time is running. What would you want more people to know? You know, how can others take action, again, especially to support people that are cancer patients and survivors? So what would you want more people to know, and how can people help support?
I would say people know enough things about cancer already. They should just act. Go for screening, embrace early proper medical treatment, and please avoid risk factors. Risk factors like alcohol, sedentary lifestyle, and everything that doesn't just go well with the human body and all that. You know, away from that, I think we are good.
Okay. So, doctor, let me come back to you finally, because you mentioned that you have a screening center. So if I come to you, what are the tests I should be looking out for in terms of, you know, screening based on my risk factors, right? What kind of tests should I come to say I want to do?
Basically, our laboratory is a specialized laboratory. DNA and Rainbow Specialized Laboratory is a specialized laboratory. What it means is that beyond the routine things that normal laboratory does, we do the specialized and complex investigations that are not routinely available in most places. So this includes tumor markers, blood works, both blood works, those are laboratory investigations, and also diagnostics, that is imaging. So we also use imaging to diagnose things. Those are the X-ray, the ultrasound, and the rest of them. So now they are depending on the part of the body we are looking at, you know, because cancer can affect all parts of the body. So there are different investigations for different parts of the body. I'll give example. So now, for example, for breast cancer, for example, let's go from the most. I start from the simplest. Just like I say, you don't need anybody to screen you for to do a self breast examination for you. You need to learn that. You need to be able to do that routinely. But beyond that, you can do a mammogram. Mammogram from 40 years. That's a recommendation. From 40 years of age, mammogram is recommended for every woman to screen the breast for, you know, breast lump and the rest of them. You also have the breast scan, also from 40 years. But if you have a risk factor, a major risk factor, family history, it needs to be earlier, from 25 years of age. That is for imaging. Beyond that, also, you can also do tumor markers and things like that. So that is genetic markers. There's something called the BRCA gene, BRCA1 and 2. This can be, you know, especially for people that have, it's very important. This is most important because people that have family history, a BRCA gene must be done for them to know if they carry that gene from their parents. And because once this gene is there, it's almost, you know, certain. So you have to do all this. Beyond that, also, there are so many other cancers. You have ovarian cancers, cancers of different parts of the body. So we do a full body workup. We do what we call the tumor marker. So when we do the tumor marker, there's every different tumor have markers in the blood that they release. So we screen you for all of this, whether it's CA125, CA199, carcinoid, Brownic antigen. So there are different, you know, markers for different parts of the body. For example, lung cancer, ovarian cancer, liver cancer, all of them have their tumor markers, so we screen you for that. Beyond that, also, you also have, you know, so many different kind of other. But bottom line is that what we've done is that we've made it accessible.
It's comprehensive enough. So it is. So when you're going there, you know that you have a thorough screening. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Franca, for sharing your story. Thank you for being an inspiration to a lot of people. I am very, very sure that, you know, from your story tonight, somebody will go and take action. And because that is only what we need to do. Thank you again, doctor. Thank you for your time. All right, so cancer is a growing crisis in Nigeria with over 124,000 new cases and 72,000 deaths annually. Breast cancer, cervical, and prostate cancer are the most common, and many cases go undetected until it's too late. Limited access to screening, treatment, and awareness worsen the problem. So we must really act now. So, I mean, our call to action will be get screened. Early detection will save your life. Visit a health center. Doctor has mentioned his health center. Visit a health center for regular checkup. Raise the awareness. This is why we're talking about it today. We're talking about cancer. You must debunk also the myth, you know, and again, educate the communities, right? You must also support survivors. Often, especially they need emotional and financial support, for those fighting cancer. We also need to intentionally advocate for better healthcare system. Doctor had said it, that we are at 5%. The recommended budget allocation to healthcare should be 15%. So we need to keep on pushing for an improved healthcare system and healthcare policies and accessible cancer treatment for everyone. So together we can truly close that gap and save lives. So you must act today. Go get checked, go get screened. Thank you so much for watching. Now, before I go, ensure you follow us across all social media handles. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Remember to like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow. If you missed our quote for today, here it is again. You are stronger than you ever realized, without a doubt. This was from Teresa Jordan. We need to be intentional about emotional strength, because that is one of the biggest way to fight cancer. Once you are able to stay strong, you can beat cancer. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.